I hope my listeners don't think I'm becoming a one-trick pony, but I want to highlight something that many people think isn't important, namely that we can ignore race. But as time goes on, it will become a bigger and bigger issue, and I want to show why that will come about. But to do this, I must cover some ground I've covered before. Class struggle. Now, I've spoken about this at least 4 times before. The paradoxes of anti-racism, the white civil war, from class warfare to white genocide, why are whites always to blame? So why write about it again? In short, because people seem determined to pretend that race will just vanish. But the left won't allow that to happen, and they won't allow it to happen because they believe in a conspiracy theory, and it starts with class struggle. So what is class struggle? Also known as class warfare. Class struggle comes from communism, and it's a conspiracy theory. In fact, one of the greatest of conspiracy theories. It divides everyone in the world into 2 groups or classes. One class, the oppressor class, gets rich by exploiting the other class, the oppressed class. There are 2 important things to remember about class struggle. 1, no one is innocent or neutral. If you are not being exploited, then you are an exploiter. 2, it is a theory based on envy and revenge. The reason I am not rich is because you are. You are rich because you have exploited me. You deserve everything you get. There's no such thing as an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. Every workplace is poisoned with the idea that work is exploitation. But this idea didn't just stay within communism. It spread because it's such a simple and therefore a seductive idea that everyone in the world is either innocent or guilty. And of course, you're never guilty. It's always someone else who is guilty, and the problems of the world can be both understood and solved. Someone is to blame, and once they are removed from power, then the problems that plague the world will also vanish. For the communists, the enemy was the rich. For the Nazis, the enemies were the Jews. For feminists, the enemies were men. For liberals, the enemies were white. In each case, there's one clear enemy, the oppressor, which both explains why there is so much wrong with the world and at the same time gives a solution. Once the oppressor is destroyed, then the exploited will be free. But in each case there must be great destruction to achieve these goals, but the cost will primarily be borne by others, not by them, so it's quite acceptable. We can see the destruction caused by communism and Nazism clearly, but many fail to see the destruction caused by feminism and liberalism. They think any destruction caused was either a good thing because it stopped extremism, or that it was extreme in itself, but that it has been learnt from. But there can be no advance without destruction. Men must be held accountable for feminism's failures. If men would just give up everything when feminism wanted them to, then feminism would work. But instead men stopped feminism from succeeding. Men are the enemy. Liberalism believes in the autonomous individual, that every person should be free from social restraint. Along the way it is decided that ethnicity and race are problems because people cannot decide these things for themselves. Therefore, they must be destroyed. Liberalism exists in the Western world, in white countries, so it is here that they set out to do their damage. Mass immigration, multiculturalism, diversity are all about destroying whites as a distinct people. An excellent example is shown here, and I'll include the link below. We're meant to listen to this guy. Here, a professor writes on Twitter that we should commit mass suicide, meaning that whites should commit mass suicide. So here we have someone who believes in white privilege, in the idea that whites are oppressors, and this idea is spreading throughout the left, and you can be certain into the universities and into government and the courts. Race, like sexism, is going to become a bigger and bigger issue because the left cannot push its agenda without it. And every time we retreat so to look respectable, we lose because we give everyone the idea that we cannot defend ourselves because our ideas are indefensible. It is time to stop being moral cowards and to start fighting. It's time to understand that the people we fight are not simply wrong, they're evil.